Oi, Meve!
cried Gascon, as usual paying no heed to courtly etiquette.
Come here a minute.
Would it hurt so terribly to occasionally address me by Your Grace or Your Majesty?
Didn't want to be petty, but since you bring it up, you've never once addressed me as the Duke of Dogs.
Meve sighed, rolling her eyes.
Get on with it.
My lads jumped one of the Blackclads' transports. Guess what they were hauling?
Gascon handed Meve a pot filled to the brim with a thick, dark fluid.
Paint?
Close. Printer's ink. Same tone used in those phony decrees.
Meve spun on her heel, put a hand to her mouth, and yelled,
Reynard! Send scouts to comb the area!
Her soldiers returned a few hours later with good news. They were able to find a Nilfgaardian printer's workshop hidden in an abandoned barn. It was guarded by a division of elite infantry.
Right, so?
Gascon thumbed the edge of his blade.
Shall we stop the presses?
Time for the Nilfgaardians to publish a retraction.
Spoke the Queen as she drew her sword.
Signed with their own blood. Follow me!
The Lyrians did not need to be told twice. Their Queen's honor, her good name, that was a cause well worth fighting for.
It's her! Yes, you fool her! Sound the alarm! Larum! Life is mine now.
Her Majesty knows what she's doing.
Kazel!
Wise choice.
For you, pal! Anything. Catch!
Hail Katza! I'm a voice.
Scheiß! In Trey!
Should have listened to the old lady.
Off to the front yet again.
this happens, we'll be reaping black-clad heads. Aye.
There's been a mistake. I'm no mage.
Yes, I'm on it.
Scheiß! In 2!
I smell a leak.
Off to the front yet again.
Coin never stinks, no matter how rank the pouch. They weren't expecting us. Seems they believed their own blarney.
The Nilfgaardians fought fiercely, led by a seasoned covert agent. Seeing he would soon fall into enemy hands, he put a knife to his throat and, in a quick slash, sent blood pouring over paper and still wet ink. Reynard leapt towards him, trying to stanch the red tide. But it was too late, and the spy's secrets perished with his last gargled breath. Meve picked up a freshly printed pamphlet. The document listed her many crimes and misdeeds, the true and the manufactured alike. Above the main body of the text, an etching depicted her, well, in a very unflattering manner.
How about a taste of their own medicine?
Asked Gascon, piecing blocks of type into a scathingly foul phrase.
Me and the lads will scratch out a couplet about Ep Dahi, spread it around the countryside, give the folk a hearty laugh at those tossers' expense.
Yes, these presses should be put to good use.
The Queen said.
But printing lewd jests is not it. We must spread facts. Tell what the Nilfgaardians did in Aldersburg, how they tried to murder me in Mahakam and Angren, what fate lies in store for those they conquer.
Gascon grew serious and set the ink-stained type back down.
Get to work. Before the sun sets, I wish to hold the first document in my hands.
Soon, in every town, village and tavern, there hung a notice detailing Nilfgaard's crimes. The outraged Rivians did what they could to strengthen the Queen's army, some by offering coin, others by joining her ranks.
Nilfgaard left none alive in Rosberg, not even one woman, and no child was
Rivia will never die so long as we are alive. These lands, they look familiar to you?
Naturally, Your Grace. They're the venerable Count Caldwell's.
War, death, chaos. Everywhere but here. This land's positively pastoral.
The traitorous Caldwell family's residence loomed into view. Against the horizon, it looked suitably sinister. Yet the manor had changed since Meve last saw it. 2 new wings, ornate towers, a grand colonnade. And the windows now glistened with stained glass, the gilded hue of imperial suns.
We must pay them a visit.
Seethed the Queen. The great double doors opened with an echoing thud. Just inside them stood the heir to the estate, Dragomir, his wife and 3 children by his side, and Helena, the treacherous Count's widow. Sliding the cap from his head, thus giving proof of the family's hereditary baldness, Dragomir knelt down upon one knee.
Your Grace, my father's betrayal stands beyond doubt and exoneration.
The young Caldwell said flawlessly and in a single breath, as if he'd practiced a dozen times.
And his death at your hands was most well deserved. I ask that ye not punish sons for the sins of their fathers. I ask humbly, with bowed head, allow me to stay on my ancestral lands, to serve faithfully as your loyal subject.
I believe not a word slithering out of his mouth,
Whispered Reynard.
The first chance he gets to stab you in the back, he will take.
Convenient to make this request now, don't you think? Why not earlier?
Meve asked, crossing her arms and raising her chin.
It would have behooved you to send a messenger, once I'd crossed into Rivia.
Preferred to speak to you directly, Your Grace, For
you held out hope. Hope that the Blackclads would yet defeat me. You stood on their side till the last.
No.
The Caldwells I trusted once, but I shan't make that error again. You've one day to pack your chattels and go. Leave my country.
Dragomir rose from his knee and shook out the cap he'd crushed in supplication.
Only ever as a corpse, Your Majesty.
He hissed, his vulnerable demeanor gone in a flash.
if you'll not take me for your vassal, you must take me as your foe. Men, to arms!
At this sign, armed men rushed from the house while archers appeared atop the roof. Clearly, Dragomir had expected to be refused.
You'll not destroy my family! I won't allow it!
As you command. Greetings. What is it?
Aye.
I saw them! No other way!
Should have listened to the old lady. Fuck, our arse is moving.
Her Majesty is exceptional.
Feel any burning? See a local healer or wise one.
This office, reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Back to the dust whence you came! There's a time to reap, a time to sow, and a time to die. Should have listened to me, old lady. This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads. Lyria!
Quick and painful this'll be.
One bullet for my
Prepare to fight, if you've any honor.
Death is only the beginning!
Father was right about you.
Dragomir lay in the courtyard of his extravagant manor. With the last of his strength, he clawed at the colored gravel. He resembled an insect that was hurt, damaged, yet pulled itself along as if it could somehow escape death. The Queen knelt beside him and gazed into his clouded eyes.
I want you to know your family will be looked after. You've relatives in Kedwen. They'll be sent there, properly escorted, with the proper stipend.
Dragomir wished to say something, but choked on his own blood. He was dead a moment later. The Queen slowly stood and gave the order to march. She rode at the front of the column, deep in thought.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow.
Enough chit-chat. Draw your weapon.
You sure about that?
Her Majesty knows what she's doing.
Quiet, or the Commissar will hear.
Order!
Naturally. At once. Watch your heads!
Feel any burning? See a local healer or wise woman.
Should've listened to me, old lady.
This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads.
Barbarians.
Quick and painful this'll be.
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Hail Captain!
The unworthy shall be punished.
Scheiß in Trade!
To the front yet again.
Greetings. What is it?
Roto dum anime est, spes est.
Meve now reached Willowhain, a settlement she knew well, for it lay near Waldenrad, where in peacetime she would go to escape her queenly duties and enjoy the thrill of a hunt.
Pheasant, grouse, and partridge in abundance. You will see,
said Meve in muted excitement, pivoting in her saddle to face Gascon. Alas, it appeared the war had ravaged even these woods. Where life had stirred and grown tall before, only resinous trunks remained. And the village itself had lost its quaint allure, surrounded now by a double stockade, a golden sun fluttering above it.
Bastards couldn't even let the damn trees be.
Gascon seethed. A dismal scene. Her once cherished wood, and it weighed heavily on the Queen's spirits. Waldenrad had been a place removed, where she could rest and forget the weight of her crown. Reynard's voice roused Meve from her sad reverie.
A Nilfgaardian garrison holds the village,
he said.
We ought to drive them out, avoid any surprise later from the rear.
give the order to attack, but none is to play the hero. We shall breach or topple the stockade together. Senseless to perish so close to home.
Reynard nodded. Moments later, the Lyrians rushed forth and attacked.
Come to purge these devils from our homes! Follow me!
This harvest will be reaping black-clad hands.
Wise choice.
Wanna know why I got my scar? Very glad!
Feel any burning? See a local healer or wise woman.
Life is mine now. Shh, target.
reckoning. Should have listened to me old lady.
Edroto dum anime est, spes est.
You sure about that?
Give me a time.
Warum?
Thing about slings, they hide well.
My prescription, a bit of bloodletting.
Rivia is ours! Ours!
When the battle dust had settled, Meve instructed her soldiers to gather Willowhane's inhabitants. Upon spotting their armed liberators, the common folk cowered in terror.
No longer need you fear.
The Queen shouted.
No longer must you worry about homes and loved ones. The war's nearly done.
Of a sudden, a villager dropped to his knees and raised his hands to the heavens in supplication.
Tracker! Guide my Queen!
Meve broke off oddly, baffled by the man's outburst. And then it dawned on her. The Rivians of Willowhane had been driven away. Taking their place, Nilfgaardian settlers brought in to transform the near-subsistence plots of local peasants into great estates producing for the Empire. Reynard managed to grasp the essence of the Nilfgaardian peasants' frantic pleas.
They wish to stay. They've come to love the land. They pledged to renounce their emperor, swear allegiance to you as their rightful ruler.
Meve had stopped listening. She turned to survey the hamlet. The walls of the huts freshly whitewashed, tools neatly arranged, flower beds well tended. A young girl of 6 or 7 summers peered out from her hiding place in a sunflower patch.
Your Majesty?
Asked Reynard, having noted that Meve's mind had wandered.
What are your orders? What shall we do?
They can stay on 2 conditions. Tell them. For 15 years, they'll pay double the tax. And if any of the previous inhabitants return, they're to be given their huts, lands, and any crops produced in their absence without delay.
The Nilfgaardian settlers accepted the terms with relief. Meve's soldiers with markedly less enthusiasm. As the force left Willowhane, The troops made a show of knocking aside any food or drink the peasants offered.
Hail Reina, Meve! Here, equal!
Let me tell you of Ravencloft, a quarry Meve passed by. A quarry with a dark history. For years earlier, its wall had collapsed, burying dozens alive. Scholars summoned from Oxenfurt were unanimous in their findings. The rock was fragile, further digging would likely cause slides. Meve had heeded the scholars' advice and closed the quarry by royal decree. Yet now, as she neared it, Meve could hear the even tap of pickaxes. She dispatched scouts to investigate. They returned promptly, their faces sullen, their cloaks blanched with a fine limestone dust.
Quarry's open anew, Your Grace. Nilfgaardians. They've got folk in the pit working it. Appear to be from the surrounding villages.
Interesting. Their engineers have found a way to render it safe, secure the walls.
I'd say that's right unlikely, Majesty. Judging by the fresh graves we saw.
The Queen then turned to Reynard, as ever at her side.
Reynard, what do you advise?
As a soldier, my queen, I'd advise against any kind of assault. The terrain's hard, unsuitable for a fight, and we've little to gain from a victory. As a man, however...
Yes?
To leave our folk in chains, in that death trap. Twouldn't be right.
If I were to calculate in heart and mind, keep note of gains and losses...
began Meve.
I'd bend the knee to the Imperials, just as Willem did. But bloody arithmetic won't dictate my course. For I do what's just. I do what's right. Follow me!
Her troops followed without hesitation, swords in hand, their hearts afire.
Those whoresons. Forcing my own subjects to fight us.
Wise choice.
No time for that!
Catch!
Order! Life is mine now!
Your Grace, if we begin killing the overseers, the laborers will turn against them.
Zericania! Source of the best goods.
I think you'll really like this one.
Oh. That will do. This one's got spirit. Go, hop, hop. Ha! Catch him! He's worth 20 florins!
I smell a leak.
And just when you thought things were about to get dull.
The overseers are dead, Your Grace.
The Lyrians handily dispatched the Nilfgaardian overseers, more trained in the ways of the whip than the sword. Those who survived now found themselves shackled in the very chains they'd forced the peasants to wear. Peasants. Oh, unfortunate souls. The cruel labor in the quarry had taken its toll. They stood before the Queen, shrunken to skin and bone, clothed in tattered rags, their eyes reddened by dust. But in those eyes burned a brilliant fire.
Your Grace, them black-clads treated us like dogs, stripped us of dignity. So we beg you, give us arms, let us march neath your banner. 'Tis a chance at revenge we seek, we want.
Reynard leaned towards Meve and spoke in a scarcely audible whisper.
Majesty, they've nowt. Not boots, not even foot wraps. To equip the lot, train them, would cost a small fortune.
'Tis true. They've nowt to their names.
Said the Queen.
Have few skills to offer and little strength. But to look in their eyes is to know they'll never flee. Never throw down their arms. Such recruits are worth coin in any amount.
Emaciated, downtrodden, the peasants met the Queen's offer with gratitude. They relished the thought of facing their tormentors in a fight.
I saw them. No other way.
Not supposed to be any sport.
Greetings. What is it?
Without hesitation. I smell a leak.
Company! Forward march!
All right, that's no problem.
This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Ever have a storm knock out one of your teeth?
things were about to get dull.
God's blast it! My breastplate chafes.
Meve spied the outline of Malabon Castle on the horizon and turned dour. True, no golden suns waved atop its towers, yet that did not mean those within supported her. Malabon belonged to House Obert, long in conflict with Meve's own, and with Meve herself.
Behind their ramparts. Do you see them, Reynard?
Asked Meve, shaking her head.
Countless ballistae, collecting dust, while war rages all around.
Perhaps the Oberts will lend us aid,
Reynard replied.
True, you've been at odds with them in the past, but perhaps now, faced with a common foe.
A common foe?
Snorted the Queen.
You mean Nilfgaard, to whom they opened their gates? Caldwell, whom they supported?
For they were convinced the Empire would win this war, and resistance pointless. Yet you have shown all the North the Blackclads can be defeated. So perhaps they shall forget old wrongs.
The things I do for the good of my realm.
Meve sighed.
So be it. Reynard, send a runner to the castle. Tell the Oberts their queen seeks a word.
Moments later, the castle's heavy iron gate creaked open. Meve rode into the cobblestone courtyard, where Margravine Greta, head of the house, greeted her. Although greeted is perhaps not the right word, for Lady Greta granted her only a barely perceptible nod.
What can I help you with, Meve?
The war, my dear. The one being fought outside the walls of your castle.
Greta smiled to herself, then intertwined her brittle, ring-covered fingers.
I'm afraid that's impossible.
It is a vassal's sacred duty to serve her liege, and
my liege is King Willem.
Greta calmly retorted.
Against whom you have raised arms.
Willem is a usurper. He unlawfully stripped me of my crown.
The Council of Peers deprived you of your crown,
Greta said, pursing her eyes into thin slits.
Fearing you would drag this realm into a senseless war. A fear which, it is now abundantly clear, was well-founded.
I have returned home a victor. I defeated the Nilfgaardians in Angren.
Due to a stroke of good luck. You think defeating Caldwell means you can defeat the Emperor as well? Madness, my dear Meve. And my men will not die for madness. Leave my home! Begone from my lands!
I shall go,
the Queen said.
And I shall take your war machines with me.
Did I not express myself clearly? I have refused you any aid.
And I have stopped asking,
Meve said, drawing her weapon.
Soldiers! Attack!
Seeing that a battle was imminent, Greta Obert took refuge in the keep. The Margravine soldiers stood ready to defend her life to the very end.
You and Ebdahi, you are no different.
Lyria! We got a job to do. Aye.
You'll never take me alive!
Should've listened to me, old lady. All right, that's no problem.
Congratulations. You've defeated an old woman.
Shocked by this sudden attack, the Oberts never stood a chance of resisting Meve. Realizing their inevitable defeat, Margravine Greta tried to escape, but her horse, frightened by the tumult of battle, tossed her from the saddle and bolted. Meve left Malabon Castle strengthened by the Oberts' war machines, but in dour spirits. She understood that even if she won the war and chased the Nilfgaardians behind the Yaruga, she would still have enemies left on her land. Meve's force reached Cavaldon, a small, run-down town.
The Blackclads, they've a strong garrison in place.
Proclaimed her scouts upon returning from a foray.
And they stand prepared for a siege. Their stores overflow, and we see ballistas, scorpions.
Cavaldon can be taken,
began Reynard hesitantly.
But not without losses. Considerable losses.
A retreat. Is that what you advise?
I fear the soldiers wouldn't take to such a course. They're eager, Your Grace. They've a fire in them. Order a retreat and you could devastate morale.
Our losses may be heavy,
said Meve, drawing her sword.
But I'll make certain the vile invader suffers even more. Order the troops to prepare. We will attack.
Soon after, the Lyrians moved on Cavaldon, war drums rumbling in step to their march. Upon the walls, the Nilfgaardians stood poised to defend.
I won't leave a single city to these invader scum! For Lyria! For Rivia!
My, now that is some fancy weaponry. Bet it's still got that new war machine smell.
Without hesitation.
Give me a target.
them! We must bring down their walls! Crush them!
For you, pal! Anything! Life is mine now!
Company! Forward march!
Nothing personal, I assure you.
Wise choice.
There's been a mistake. I'm no mage.
Of course, as you wish, master. Death is only the beginning! Yes. Stiller Zweifel!
Our ballista, your command.
A highly curious case.
Discipline. That is what you folk lack.
Egreto dum anima est, spes est.
We did it, Your Grace. The city is ours.
The Nilfgaardians had indeed prepared well, with grapples to repel hook ladders from the walls and long spears to rain down upon attackers far below. Meve managed on the fourth attempt to breach the defenses, but did so scrambling over the corpses of her own men. The Queen was in the field tent when Reynard arrived with surprising news. To be heard over the groans of the wounded, he had to raise his voice.
Your Grace, a delegation of townsfolk. They seek an audience urgently.
Dozens of burghers stood before the tent. Between them and the Queen, a man knelt in shackles. His face was blooded as if he'd endured a vicious beating just moments before.
Who's this?
Our blacksmith, Todor.
Snarled a priestess in a frayed robe.
He betrayed you, Your Grace. Soon after the Nilfgaardians arrived, within hours in truth, he offered his labour and strength. They didn't even need to ask. Forged arms and armour for them, all for imperial girls.
Meve gripped the beaten man's beard, tugged upwards, and looked him in the eyes.
Did you forge the hooks and the tips for those spears?
I did, Your Grace.
It was fine work,
growled the Queen.
Damned fine.
Show him mercy, milady!
Cried a withered old man in a flour-spattered apron.
When the black-clad bastards captured my son, they were eager to hang him. Todor spoke for him, saved his life.
He helped me too!
Hollered a woman in the crowd.
I were hungry. He shared what little he had.
The townsfolk began shouting over one another. Some told of the blacksmith's noble deeds. Others labelled him a traitor deserving of a cruel and violent end. Meve turned back towards the field hospital, pondering the case, then spotted her soldiers' corpses laid out in rows. Had it not been for Todor, there might not have been so many.
This man forged arms for the Nilfgaardians. 'Tis true,
said Meve to the crowd.
Yet you, Baker, baked the bread they ate. And you, Potter, stained the cups from which they drank. Willingly or not, each of you aided the invader. Where does pursuing one's craft end and treason begin? I've no answer to that. So I shan't punish any for doing merely what's theirs to do.
Upon hearing the verdict, the Queen's troops stared in disbelief, then began to boil. As she walked back calmly to the tent, they jeered and hissed. At the last, it took Reynard to calm them down. Meve had saved Todor, but she was convinced she'd not see the blacksmith again. Come evening, he returned to the camp, with a wagon full of arms so new they shone.
If it weren't for you, Your Grace, they'd have torn me to bits with their bare hands,
he said, kneeling before her.
I thank you for speaking up for me. For my innocence, that is. I've a gift for you. A gift I knows you'll put to proper use.
Meve took a spear in hand, put it to her shoulder, and gazed down the shaft. The tip glowed red in the light of the setting sun.
Of that, my friend, you can be sure.
Your Majesty, the hut's untouched. Ripe grain in the fields, 'tis hard to believe. I feared we'd have another Eddern here, with the blackclads setting fire to all.
I feared nothing of the sort. Nilfgaard's not stupid. Lands it aims to hold it doesn't destroy. And Willem did bend the knee to the Emperor.
Used to be I hunted game. Men bring more coin.
Company! Forward march!
Scrubbing duty again? Oh, gods.
This could hurt.
Hey? Should have listened to me, old lady. New orders? No? This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads.
Sericania! Source of the best goods.
You sure about that?
I think you'll really like this one.
Wise choice.
God's blast it!
for splinters. Back in line!
Oh, could murder a pint.
If anyone asks, you've not seen me.
That will do. This one's got spirit.
Wait, you're serious?
I live to serve you.
Aye.
be an important lesson in this. But what?
Hundred and 1, 102, 103.
Should have listened to me old lady.
Order!
Enough chit-chat. Draw your weapon. Wait, you're serious?
All right, that's no problem.
Arbalist to your command.
Life is mine now.
Feel any burning? See a local healer or wise one.
I smell a leak.
This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads. My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
Of course, as you wish, master.
Thing about slings, they hide well.
That was not in the spellbooks.
Greetings. What is it?
The unworthy shall be punished.
Wise choice.
Scheiß! In Trey!
Broadhead now loomed before Meve and her force. Once famous for its glowing forges and clanking manufactories, the city now stood silent. Why, you might ask? Because Mahakam. Decades past, it had opened its gates to human merchants and dwarven arms, exquisitely crafted and not nearly as dear as those made by man. The caravans had simply stopped coming to Broadhead. When its black-clad garrison spotted the Lyrians approaching, they'd hastily fled, left the city's gates open wide. Yet, they did not leave empty-handed. Their convoy comprising at least a dozen wagons loaded ostensibly to the hilt.
With what might they have fled?
With something damn heavy,
replied Gascon, squinting his eyes.
Look at this. 2 horses to pull each wagon, and the wheels cut deep into the road.
What they've taken from my city,
began the Queen.
They've taken from me, and I will have it back. Follow me!
Meve spurred her horse and galloped off in pursuit of the fleeing caravan. When the Blackclads realized they had no hope of escape, they planted pikes and feet, bracing for the assault.
Whatever you carry belongs to me!
They gain ground! Down Seyfel! For them!
Ever have a storm knock out one of your teeth?
The Demavent!
Her Majesty knows what she's doing.
Watch your heads!
Life is mine now!
Yes?
I fear not, for Fae guides me.
Wise choice.
You sure about that? Wanna know why I'm gonna star?
Got sand aplenty.
And just when you thought things were about to get dull.
Enough! I refuse to die for these scraps!
Meve personally, and none too gently, shackled the Nilfgaardian commander, a young nobleman with a precisely trimmed moustache. Like many noble Imperials, he spoke fluent common.
The wagons. What's in them, Captain?
Scrap, Your Majesty.
The Imperial promptly replied. Noting the Queen's confusion, he elaborated.
To be melted down and recast into arrowheads and spear tips. Our engineers originally planned to use the foundries in Broadhead, yet these proved too primitive. We were ordered to remove the scrap, take it elsewhere.
Any pride from the victory vanished in an instant, and Meve swelled with anger, but also with shame. The shame came from realizing that to the invader her realm was naught more than a weak, underdeveloped backwater. Meve slammed the chest she'd opened shut.
Blast it! Back to Broadhead. Let's ride.
Crumbling walls, shattered windows, rotted wood. Broadhead was bleak, a dull shadow of its former self. As the Lyrians entered, the somber townsfolk glared at the arrivals and uttered not a word. Meve resolved to address the crowd.
Folk of Broadhead, you're free at last. The Nilfgaardian occupation is done.
Aye, and a new one starts now.
Are you madman? Don't you recognize our banners? The Lyrian army stands before you.
Oh, I recognise banners. Served neath them as a sergeant 15 long years. And then I came back to my own town. Know what I found? Hardship and squalor, your grace. All had gone to shite. On account of damn dwarves. Been flooding Rivia with their metal goods for years now. Us smiths don't so much as light their pipes in their foundries no more. You call yourselves the Lyrian army. Colours and banners confirm it. Well, what about your arms? Weren't forged in us fires, but in Mahakam's. By us worst foes. Hell, I even see some at knobheads in your ranks. So what freedom's it you're giving us, your grace? Freedom to beg in common, not in Nilfgaard's mongrel tongue.
Beg? What do you want about, man?
There's no levy on goods from Mahakam. But without it, us workshops don't stand a chance. And ye, your grace, you wear their armour, bear their arms, and bring bearded bastards to our doorstep.
There's a war on. I do whatever I must to win.
Aye, Majesty. And you run up a debt with dwarves. A debt you'll need to repay. At the cost of your own craftsmen.
Enough. Silence. Consider yourself lucky you've a merciful queen. I'd have had your head off by now. Move along.
Before Meve could leave the market square, Barnabas politely interjected.
Frankly speaking, there's a bit of truth to what the man says.
I'm perfectly aware of that. But what do you want?
I don't mean to toot my own horn, but perhaps I might be of some help.
Do tell how. I'm all ears.
Everything your folk make here, the dwarves of Mahakam make twice as fast and twice as well. You must find a so-called niche, an innovation. And it just so happens innovations
are your speciality.
At the risk of being immodest, exactly. Besides, it might serve the cause of peace to show the folk here, non-humans, are not all bad. That they can help. Not just steal human jobs and piss in their milk.
I'll consider it, Barnabas. I shall think and let you know.
The time came to leave Broadhead, so Meve summoned her advisors, eager to hear their counsel. They put forth ideas, many of merit, but the Queen would decide the city's future. Meve decided she wouldn't debate matters of economy and enterprise.
Victory over Nilfgaard. That is our sole task now.
Said Meve in a raised voice, silencing her advisors.
And it's to this purpose alone that we must devote our resources.
Some soldiers had taken the townsfolk's words to heart. They were frustrated, disappointed with the Queen's decision. But when she gave the order to march, not one raised his voice in protest.
The wind howls like a ghastly apparition.
There's a time to reap, a time to sow, a time to die.
You can pay the toll in one of two ways. In silver or in blood.
If anyone asks, you've not seen me. There's been a mistake. I'm no mage.
Not going into the fray already, are we? Of course I'll manage. I gained a full week.
This harvest, we'll be reaping black-clad heads.
Stick 'em up! High as the clouds! Now!
There's been a mistake. I'm no mage.
Not going into the fray already, are we?
Greetings. What is it?
The castle of Rivia now loomed before the Lyrians. Water surrounded it on 3 sides, and dual defensive walls studded with podgy turrets completed its perimeter. It was famously difficult to take, and had changed hands only once. A few months before, when traitors opened its gates to the Nilfgaardians. Foreign banners waved upon the walls. The Golden Sun and General Epdahi's crest on Rivia's walls. The walls of home. There was somber silence among the troops, the glee and pride of many triumphs suddenly gone. For each knew if the Queen ordered an assault, most would lie dead by sunrise.
Your Majesty,
began Reynard in a reassuring tone.
We needn't strike quickly. We've time on our side. To prepare would be wise. 2 months, I wager, perfectly enough. We stop supplies from getting through. They'll capitulate, I've little doubt. Or at worst, be too weak to defend the fortress.
Reynard's reasoning was sound. There was no need for urgency. Meve had the upper hand for the first time in this war.
These invaders have grown fond of Rivia Castle,
said Meve.
So let them stay and rot. Reynard, erect road barricades and guard posts between city and citadel. Gascon, seize all boats, barges, anything that floats. Stop anything from entering from the lake. Move!
Soon, Rivia Castle stood isolated from the world outside its walls. All roads leading to it were blocked, impassable. Fishing boats, a cordon, embraced the fortress on Loch Escalot. The lanterns on their bows glowed like fireflies in summer. Then, an emissary from the castle brought a message for the Queen. General Epdahi wished to meet, face to face, and half the way between the citadel and the Lyrian camp.
Well, well, some general,
smirked Gascon.
We've barely snapped the trap shut, yet he's already shaking in his knickers.
Meve proceeded to the meeting point without delay. A lone rider soon appeared on the horizon. He came adorned in rich black robes, their golden trim shimmering in stray sunbeams. She'd seen him before, in Edirn, through the megascope.
You came as I requested. Good. Very good.
I couldn't possibly refuse such a courteous invitation, especially as compared to your previous missive. The art of diplomacy, you've improved your grasp.
Your realm fell quickly. I expended little strength in seizing it. This left me much time to study. But please, We must set aside this bitterness. I'd like to formally welcome you to Rivia, dear Queen.
I see you've readily adopted the role of gracious host in my home.
In point of fact, I've grown fond of the castle. Fortifications impressive, atypical of the north. Not so your brave soldiers, whom we shall pick off like ducks. I pity them, in fact.
Dry your eyes, General. Rest easy. I've no plans for a quick assault. I shall first wait to hear the rumbling in your bellies.
Remarkable. You truly believe you can win this war? I've not been in the north long, but have discovered something all the same. You don't grasp complex ideas. You know Nilfgaard is large, but your minds don't fathom its enormity. You see, for every army you defeat, another will come to take its place. One larger and better equipped than the one before. Even now, as we so pleasantly chat, Army Group East is en route to lift your siege, due to arrive tomorrow. And do you know what will happen when they do? They will crush you against your own castle's walls, like the maddening flea you are.
Enough. I'll not be insulted, General, nor intimidated.
Then I wish you a splendid night, Majesty. Get some rest. You'll need it tomorrow.
Indeed I will. For with raised visor, I shall be at the fore, unlike you.
In my home, in the civilized world, a general commands his force. He does not rush and thrash about like some rabid hound.
You're not at home, General. You're in the north, in my home. But you're right, I will rest. While you should pray to all your gods that we don't meet amidst the fray.
Without awaiting a response from General Dahi, Meve pivoted and turned toward camp. Her pace was quick, despite a heavy heart.
Seems your late husband, rest his soul, may have overcompensated a bit with this castle.
The good book states the just always prevail, with no cause.
And I thought Rosberg...
As a rule, human fortifications aren't worth a pound of shield-marshite. But this fort sure turned out all right for you.
And I thought Rosberg had strong walls.
Gonna be one hell of a night! Ah! Ah! Ah!
Many will die today. Too many.
Meve's closest advisors already awaited her in the command tent. In a few brief words, the Queen gave a report of the meeting, only with great effort masking the quavering in her voice.
An army, an immense one, approaches from the west. If we meet in open battle, we stand not a chance.
Damn it! Why did no one warn me?
Our scouts were discovered, captured. It must be that.
We must flee? Not at all heroic, I admit. But sure as hell better than being trampled into the dirt.
Easily said, but for a problem. Our force is chiefly infantry. The army that draws near includes cavalry, several regiments. We cannot hope to escape them. We cannot hope to hide.
What do you advise?
We've two options. Capitulate.
Out of the question.
Or take the castle. Tonight.
Suppose for a moment it's possible. Tell me how and at what cost. Are we to scale a mountain of comrades' corpses to reach the top of the wall? I know we're at war and many die. But to command our troops to take that citadel is to condemn them to certain death.
Rivia's walls are unassailable, I fully agree. But there's more than one way to take any fort, and this fort too.
I think I like where this is going.
I know this citadel like no one else. I know its one potential weakness. The boat landing.
Wait. That narrowest of piers between the two turrets? The one where the fishermen would land?
The same. As I'm sure you recall, Your Grace, at that narrow pier's end stands a narrow door leading straight into the fortress. A small detachment could approach unnoticed, overwhelm any sentries, and get inside.
What then?
They would need to pass through the fort to the winch in the guardhouse. Open the gate for the rest of the force.
Reynard, I'll be honest. This sounds right mad.
Perhaps. But as options go, we have it alone.
And I'm to choose to send folk there? Most certainly to die.
You needn't choose anyone, for I volunteer. And will take only those willing to do the very same.
Bloody wretched plan.
And you've a better one, do you?
Of course. I'll go instead.
Beg your pardon? I don't.
Face it, Reynard, you couldn't sneak past a corpse. Sound like a bloody tambourine in that armour. Apart from which, you're Meve's right hand. So you ought to be by her side when the fighting starts.